A lot of religious people would make the argument that you need religion in order to be moral. Religion teaches morality. But now some researchers at UC Santa Barbara are trying to see if there is a link between science and morality. So they decided to study it, and here's what their hypothesis was. The association between science and morality is so ingrained that merely thinking about it can trigger more moral behavior. So in order to study this, they first had to see if there was a correlation, and in order to determine the correlation, they found people who are scientifically minded, people who believe in science, who like science, and then they showed them a scenario or gave them a hypothetical of a date rape to see whether they judged the date rape more harshly than people who are not scientifically minded. And what they found was, yes, that actually is the case. In fact, according to the UC Santa Barbara researchers, participants read a vignette of a date rape and were asked to rate the wrongness of the offense before answering a questionnaire measuring their belief in science. Indeed, those reporting greater belief in science condemned the act more harshly. So boom, you got a correlation, but, but does that mean that there is causation? They proceeded to conduct 4 different studies that found that there actually is causation. So they said that showing you words like logical, hypothesis, laboratory, and theory should make you think about science, and any effect the presentation of these words has on subsequent behavior can be attributed to the associations you make with that category. So basically what that means is they primed the respondents with scientific words and, scientific phrases. So they're thinking about science, and then they're given these different scenarios, and based on those scenarios, they make decisions as to whether they're moral or immoral. And in most cases, the respondents that were primed made moral decisions, okay? So being primed with science-related thoughts increased adherence to moral norms, real-life future altruistic intentions, and altruistic behavior toward an anonymous other, so some other person that they don't know.
I think they're a little biased, though, because the people who did the study are scientists.
Okay. That's the problem with scientific studies. Yeah. They're usually done by scientists.
Yeah, that is an issue.
Yeah.
So, look, I think that, I'm biased in this case. I didn't do a factual study on it, but my perspective is I'm agnostic, and I'm a huge believer in science. As Richard Dawkins was recently saying, science is what makes the ships run, spaceships go, it's what's in your medicine. It works, it works, it works. Science, it works, bitches.
Yeah.
Okay. Richard Dawkins said that.
He did, actually. Okay, so it was a fun little clip.
Yeah.
It's true. Look it up on YouTube. So I'm worried that, and look, for religious folks, there's a lot of great religious people who are deeply moral, and they help the poor, the needy, etc. I talked about how my hero is Martin Luther King earlier in the program, and he was a reverend, and he deeply cared about the teachings of Jesus Christ, etc. But some religious people do it because they feel like, well, if God isn't going to punish me, if he is an vengeful God, why would I be moral? Well, because you're moral, like because you're a decent human being and you care about others. And so I feel that if you adhere to logic and decency and science, you're more likely to be moral than if you only do it because the sky god is looking over your shoulder and will burn you in hell forever.
And think about the immorality that religion pushes for. I mean, when you look at some Middle Eastern countries and some of the heinous things they do to women, like honor killings, they do that in the name of their religion. I mean, is that really moral? I mean, an example here in the United States is the Westboro Baptist Church. Are they moral when they go to the funerals of, fallen soldiers and they say God hates fags and things like that? I mean, is that morality? So I don't think that you need a religion to be a moral person. I totally agree with you. It's about logic. It's about just being a good person. You don't need to have a faith in order to, have that. I mean, I think I'm pretty freaking moral, and I'm not religious. So.
I'm pretty freaking moral.
Yeah. Hey, settle down about your morality, okay?
One quick note on the logic. If you're logical, being moral actually gets you more advantages anyway. Like, more people like you, humans are social animals, and it helps in that process, and you get so much more back if you give. It's true. I mean, it's just a matter of, but if you're not logical and you're worried about the sky god and what he's going to react to what you're doing or thinking,
Well, the problem is that you're not fundamentally reacting to the sky god. You're reacting to the religious authority figure that's over you. So religion doesn't teach you to be moral or immoral. It teaches you to follow the authority figure that's interpreting whatever religious text or oral tradition they have. So in some cases, religion can lead to very moral behavior. There are liberal Christian churches in America that do great things. But sometimes it can cause you to hate gays.
That's such a good point. That's why Jesus Christ hated the religious.
Yeah.
The religious at the time, and he threw them out of, whether it was the money changers being thrown out of the temple or the rabbis at the time that he was against, etc., because organized religion just became listen to the authority figure, and he was saying, no, you have to listen to a higher source in his case.
Yeah, we could look at something as simple as the 10 Commandments, which probably most of us, at least the 4 of us sitting here, I think, we probably do use most of those 10. We don't kill anybody, you're not...
No. I once fucked my neighbor's wife.
You fuck, all right, that was the one. I was going to leave one out. But pretty much, we probably, let's say we have around 7 out of 10. But the question is, are we doing it for religious reasons or reasons of belief rather than what you're talking about, which is that we want to live moral lives as people that have thinking brains, and there's a lot of good reasons to go ahead and do that.
So there are a couple of problems with this. One problem that I want to go into is that unfortunately, and look, I was in poli-sci. I conducted priming studies like this that talked about morality and religion and things like that.
Please.
The problem with studies like this is that scientific studies like this rarely convince people who don't respect or care about science of pretty much anything. Like they're not going to listen. It's not like a priest is going to be like, guys, sorry. Turns out this isn't good for you.
It's not going to achieve anything. It's not going to achieve anything when you really think about it, but at least it reinforces what we already knew, right? And at least there's scientific evidence indicating that you don't necessarily need religion in order to be a moral person. I love that. I love that they're looking into it. There were some issues with methodology here, though, because they didn't account for political affiliation. So there was some, there's some issue with that.
That's the most obvious thing to include in one of these studies. I don't understand that they couldn't do that. But.
Well, I know. There's always you can always nitpick a study. Look, the question is there a giant gaping hole? I don't think political affiliation is a giant gaping hole in the study at all.
I don't like the phrase
the
giant gaping hole.
Yeah, I was still thinking about my neighbor's wife.
There is, that's disgusting.
Okay, to be fair, and to be clear, for the purpose of science, I did not have sex with my neighbor's wife. I just had sex with my neighbor. She wasn't anybody's wife.
Okay.